A confession is powerful. It can end a case before it truly begins. But the law asks a harder question. What if the confession is wrong? What if no crime ever occurred? Courts do not rely on words alone. They require proof that something actually happened. This principle, often misunderstood, is called corpus delicti, and it defines the boundary between accusation and reality. I am Polemopicus, and that is the subject we now investigate.
In criminal law, few things seem more decisive than a confession. A person admits to a crime. Details are provided. Responsibility is accepted. From the outside, that feels like the end of the case, but the law does not treat it that way. Because history has shown something uncomfortable. People sometimes confess to crimes that never happened, or confess inaccurately, or confess under pressure. That is why the legal system developed a rule designed to prevent convictions based solely on a person's words. That rule is called corpus delicti. The term corpus delicti is Latin. It is often translated as body of the crime, but that translation can be misleading. It does not necessarily refer to a physical body. It refers to the fact that a crime actually occurred. In practical terms, corpus delicti requires proof of two things: that a specific harm or loss occurred, and that the harm resulted from criminal activity, not accident or natural causes. Only after that foundation is established can a confession be used to connect a specific person to the crime. Corpus delicti exists because confessions are not always reliable. There are several reasons why: psychological pressure, misunderstanding of facts, coercive interrogation tactics, mental health issues, desire for attention or notoriety, or confusion or memory errors. History includes documented cases where individuals confessed to crimes that were later proven never to have occurred. Without safeguards, a confession could become the only evidence needed for conviction. Corpus delicti prevents that. It requires independent evidence that a crime actually took place. The core rule is straightforward. A confession alone is not enough to establish that a crime occurred. There must be some independent evidence supporting the existence of the crime itself. This evidence does not need to prove every element, but it must establish that a loss, injury, or harm occurred, and that it was caused by criminal conduct. Once that threshold is met, the confession can be considered as part of the overall case. Independent evidence can take many forms, including physical evidence, medical reports, financial records, witness observations, and circumstantial evidence. The key is that the evidence must exist separately from the confession. It cannot simply repeat or rely on the confession itself. The system requires some objective basis to confirm that the crime is real. This is an important distinction. Corpus delicti focuses on whether a crime occurred, not who committed it. For example, evidence may show that a fire was intentionally set. That establishes a crime occurred, but it does not identify the person responsible. The confession can then be used to connect the individual to the established crime. Without corpus delicti, the system risks reversing that order, identifying a person before confirming a crime. Different jurisdictions apply the corpus delicti rule in slightly different ways. Some follow the traditional rule strictly, and others use a related concept, sometimes referred to as the trustworthiness standard, which allows a confession, if there is sufficient corroboration, indicating it is reliable. Despite these variations, the underlying principle remains consistent. Courts require independent support for the existence of a crime before relying on a confession. From the outside, it may seem unnecessary. If someone confesses, why question it? But the rule reflects a deeper concern. The legal system must guard against convicting someone for a crime that never happened. Without corpus delicti, a confession could be enough on its own. False confessions could lead to wrongful convictions. The system could prioritize statements over reality. Corpus delicti forces courts to confirm that there is a real crime before assigning responsibility. Several misconceptions arise around this concept. Corpus delicti means there must be a body. Incorrect. A physical body is not required. The rule applies to all types of crimes. A confession proves the crime, not by itself. The confession must be supported by independent evidence. The rule protects the guilty. The rule protects the integrity of the system. It ensures that convictions are based on actual crimes, not just admissions. In practice, corpus delicti affects how prosecutors build cases. Before relying on a confession, they must ensure there is independent evidence of the crime and corroboration of key elements. Defense attorneys may challenge whether the prosecution has met this requirement. Judges evaluate whether the threshold has been satisfied before allowing the confession to carry weight. Corpus delicti reflects a broader idea. The legal system requires objective reality, not just statements. Words alone are not enough. There must be evidence that something actually happened. Only then does the system move to the question of who is responsible. A confession feels like certainty, but the law is cautious. It recognizes that statements can be wrong, incomplete, or unreliable. Corpus delicti ensures that before the system accepts a confession, it first confirms a more basic truth, that a crime actually occurred. In a system built on evidence, reality must come before admission, and that distinction protects everyone.
If you like this content, then kindly hit like, subscribe, and share. Caesar commands it.